This is the Jack Murphy Podcast. Here's your host, Jack Murphy.
What a day yesterday was. We couldn't do a podcast yesterday because AWS, Amazon Web Services, was down. So the platform we use for the podcast was not operational, so we could not record. Today, we have a problem in that, I don't know if this is related to that or not, but we can't bring any guests into the podcast, which is driving me crazy. So we're just going to have to continue on solo here on the Jack Murphy Podcast. Thank you for being with us today. We have a wonderful program planned, but we will not have the international superstar actor Alpha Trevette joining us because I can't make a connection thanks to Amazon Web Services. So, as you all know, the Big No Kings demonstrations took place on Saturday. I didn't, here in Charlotte, I didn't see a lot of it. Of course, on the news, they made it out to be the biggest demonstration since the Vietnam War. And then on some of the other channels, they would have, when they would estimate the number, they fluctuated wildly. So I don't know how many people showed up for the thing. My guess is it was a lot less than they said. And I'll tell you another thing that I noticed about it was a lot of the participants seemed to be really elderly people. People my age and older were out protesting, which I don't understand. And the ones that were young were the purple hair with all the nose ring studs. So I don't know what it meant. I don't know. But, there were a lot of them out there singing song. I have to tell you, they make up the worst songs you've ever heard. We shall not go back. We only go together. We shall not go back. Go back. Ba, 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 ba. We shall not go back. I've never heard that song, We Shall Not Go Back, but I guess it's a big protest song, but that's a song that they were singing in a lot of the cities out and about all across America. But they had the big protest Saturday, and Trump is still president today. So mission not accomplished is all I can say about it. The guy that's running for mayor, I think he's got like a 20-plus point lead in the polls, Mondami. They're trying to get Curtis Sliwa to drop out of the race. Curtis Sliwa is the guy that wears the beret that had what's the name of his group? The red... They had a group, they ride the subways and the buses to try to protect the public from criminals and so forth. Curtis has been around New York since I was a baby. But Curtis has a following, and they want him to get out of the race so that Cuomo will pick up his votes and he might have a chance of beating Mondami. Now, this Mondami guy, he's a self-admitted Socialist Democrat. But he's a big liar, a huge liar, and they've got a bunch of video of him in restaurants and back rooms where he says the opposite of what he says in public. And one of the things that he says, he's never, ever, not once, ever called for defunding the police department, except on these 15 or 20 tweets I'm going to show you right here. Take a look at this. Every single one of these tweets. We need to defund the police. Get them out of matters they have no business in. Defund the Harlem police. Defund it. Dismantle it. Defund the police and build a socialist. Just over and over and over. So if you want a gigantic liar for your mayor, go ahead and vote for him. And apparently that's what they're going to do. They're going to vote for him. But he is a serial liar. I mean, I don't know why you wouldn't just say, Yeah, I thought the police were bad and I voted to defund them, but I think we need something. I don't know why you need to lie. You got a 21-point lead. It's kind of like Trump said, I could go out and shoot somebody and still get elected. If you've got a 21-point lead, I don't think there's any doubt that you're going to win the race. By the way, look how red I am today. I worked out just before the podcast, and so angry with the technology today. My face is all red, I promise. It's from the workout.
There's an opening for a beef boner with at least 1 year of experience. Call 581-1318 to apply.
Now, Candace Owens has been off her podcast and possibly her medications for a few days. But Candace is back, and Candace is bringing the receipts. Now, it takes a special kind of person to follow Candace Owens. I'm not that person. I did watch her Macron special series that she did on her podcast. But day to day, she's a little too out there for me. And she digs in a little too deep. If you like to hear every detail of everything, she's your girl, because she is a committed researcher and she goes deep. Well, she was hired by Turning Point America by Charlie Kirk himself. He interviewed her, hired her, and so forth. But she has a conspiracy theory that they were powerful interests wanted to get rid of Charlie Kirk, and here's her talking about it. Well, not talking about it. Here's her tweet or her post on X. Don't worry about the gag order in the Charlie Kirk case. I plan to violate it on the world's behalf. The things I've discovered this past week are enough to burn the house down. Yes, Charlie was betrayed by everyone. So that's going to be an interesting episode of the Candace Owens podcast. I'll probably check it out.
What did you say to me?
I said I'll let you go if you come out of the car and kick me in the nuts a few times and call me a piggy wiggy stinky pinky winky dinky good boy.
Okay, let's go.
Yeah, it's so easy. It's so easy.
Now, this story is really scary. I think this happened on Sunday. I was going to bring you this story yesterday. We couldn't because of the AWS fail, and we couldn't upload a podcast. But an airplane, a civilian airliner flying at, 37,000 feet over Utah? Actually, it was, I said it was Sunday. It wasn't. It was last Thursday. Anyway, they're flying at 37,000 feet, Denver to L.A., and they had to make a 90-degree turn and land in Salt Lake City because something hit the windshield. Now, at 37,000 feet, it ain't a bird. Wasn't another plane because that would have been disastrous. I don't think it could have been a drone. The theory is it was a piece of space debris. Could have been one of those Elon Musk satellites coming back into the atmosphere and burning up, and a little piece was left over. And you got to remember, the plane's going 600 miles an hour. The piece of debris is going, I don't know, thousands or whatever. So it couldn't have been very big, but it was big enough to cause quite a bit of damage. Look at the pictures of the aftermath. This is in the cockpit. You can see the mess that it made on the, looks like a radio microphone there, and the debris, glass debris. One of the pilots had his hand was cut and his arm was cut from the glass. And of course, at 37,000 feet, the plane began to depressurize. And so they immediately had to make this emergency descent and turn, and the pilots had to go on oxygen. And they're just lucky it wasn't something bigger. The FAA, by the way, says that the odds of space debris hitting your plane and killing you are around 1 in a trillion. So I guess it was their lucky and their unlucky day all in one. But that is pretty freaking scary. I don't know. We're up at podcast number 89. We're closing in on podcast number 100. This is number 89 today, but way back at probably podcast number 40, I told you about this disturbing trend that was going on here in Charlotte and all over the country in big cities, and I don't get it. Young kids in bad neighborhoods. I haven't seen a video. I've seen a lot of these videos. They're all in questionable neighborhoods, but they have, you've all heard of the meetups where they meet up on the four-wheelers and the motorcycles and the hot rods, and they go out and take over the interstate. Like they'll go out on 285 in Atlanta, 485 here in Charlotte, and there'll be hundreds of them. And they'll be doing wheelies down the interstate, riding quads down the interstate, blocking traffic and weaving in and out of whatever traffic. And somebody's going to get killed. It's just a matter of time. And I guess the kids that can't afford a quad, a four-wheeler, a motorcycle, or whatever, all they have are their bicycles. So they're doing these unbelievably dangerous bike stunts. And by that, I mean, when I was a kid, like everybody else, I had a banana seat bike. I'd put some cards with some clothespins in it. But these kids are doing wheelies into oncoming traffic. And right as the bus or the car gets there, then they swerve and barely miss the cars. And I mean, it's just a matter of time until one of them screws up and a car hits them. Watch how crazy they are.
People who live and drive in this area say something really needs to be done about this. It is just too dangerous. This is one of the trouble spots here in Drake-it, Lakeview Avenue.
This is the kind
Look
of
at that.
that gets people killed.
Dramatic video capturing dangerous bike riding on one of Drake-it's main thoroughfares. People on bikes dodging in and out of traffic on Lakeview Ave.
They're playing chicken with cars.
Aaron Boucher took this video while a passenger in a car.
One of them would...
Now, what is the person in the car supposed to do? Because, if you look up and see that, you see that coming toward you and you go, my gosh, I got to swerve or I'm going to kill. And you swerve the wrong way and you swerve the same way he does and you hit him and kill him. Then the guilt's all on you. I mean, it's clearly the kid on the bicycle's fault, but where are the parents? And what is the mental attitude where you're constantly out there risking your life like that? I don't get it.
Well, obviously, we have a rapist in Lincoln Park. He's climbing in your windows. He's snatching your people up, trying to rape them. So y'all need to hide your kids, hide your wife, and hide your husband because they raping everybody out here. He's climbing in your windows. He's snatching your people up, trying to rape them. So y'all need to hide your kids, hide your wife, hide your kids, hide your wife, hide your kids, hide your wife, and hide your husband because they raping everybody out here.
Well, if you watch my YouTube channel or Facebook or Instagram or any of my social media, you know that I walk a lot. And I have been for probably about almost 20 years now. I've been a pretty serious walker. And anywhere between 4 and 7 miles a day for the last 20 years. And so I go through a lot of shoes. If I buy a good pair of hiking shoes, if I get 6 months out of them, I consider that a good pair of shoes. Because, you think about it, I walk at least 6 days a week, sometimes 7. So it's at least 30 miles a week, sometimes 35. So you're putting a lot of miles on the shoes. They just get worn out. And good shoes are expensive. And I'm cheap. And so, I will buy, I'll see a pair of shoes that look right. I've gotten to the point I bought so many now, I kind of know what I need. I need a thick sole that's real cushiony so it doesn't hurt my feet, etc. And I've had some hit and misses with them, but there is a company I bought their shoes. It's Brooks, and they make a pretty good walking shoe. They're moderately priced, and you can get them in they're like, I can't do Nikes because they're just too narrow for my feet. To get a Nike that fits my foot, I have to buy one that's too big a size. But they have a problem. Like a lot of shoe brands, what Amazon does, they'll find a brand that's really selling, and they'll go to the brand and say, hey, we want you to do an Amazon branded shoe. And if you say no, they go, okay. And they just go get somebody else to make it, and it looks just like your shoe, and they sell it on Amazon, and then you wind up going bankrupt. Ask Airbirds about that. But anyway, there's a company that made these shoes, and they have a problem with them. The shoes are real squeaky. You ever had a pair of shoes that do that? I've had some walking shoes that do that. They if you're out in the woods with dogs and stuff, it's not so bad. But if you're walking around the house or on sidewalks and you get a squeaky shoe, there's nothing worse. But anyway, these shoes are expensive. These shoes cost between $140 and $180 a pair. I never pay that. I go to the outlets and buy New Balance, and they're usually about $65, $70. But anyway, this company, they haven't commented on it. Brooks Sports is the company. They're facing a lot of complaints about their squeaky shoes, and now there's a class action lawsuit. That would drive me crazy. Absolutely nuts. They say the issue is caused by air or moisture trapped under the insoles within the shoes. They recommend removing the insoles after each wear, so the insole... Nobody wants to do that, Brooks. We don't have time for that. We barely have time to put the shoes on and go walk and get some exercise every day. We shouldn't have to deconstruct your shoes and dry them so that they don't squeak. Just make them so they don't get wet so we can go walk. So anyway, this class action suit is going on.
I told Nancy Pelosi she was drawing her eyebrows too high. She looked surprised.
Well. By the way, the sad news, Doug Martin, a former running back for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, died at age 36. It was announced yesterday, and there were no details given at the time. Turns out that Doug had some severe mental problems that he's had for quite a while, maybe CTE, I don't know. But his family was in the process of trying to get him help, and he passed away at age 36. That's sad news. This CTE ain't going away anytime soon. And they're going to have to figure out some way to stop these brain injuries to these football players.
Why doesn't The View have any trans women on it?
Great point. It has a lot of women that look trans, but none of them... It has a lot of second and third takes. After a drink, you'd go, huh? But it doesn't have...
Now, a while back up in Canada, they passed some new rules about gun ownership, and they did a big push that you could voluntarily bring in your guns and turn them in, and they would pay you for your guns. Nobody ever mentioned that it was a law that you had to do it. They first tried the volunteer method, and then anybody who didn't voluntarily bring in their long guns, they came out and visited you and took them away. And it's probably a good thing they did, because now they're rolling out these letters. How would you like to get one of these letters? So in Canada, one of the cities that's disarmed their citizens is now telling people that their homes belong to native tribes after a pivotal court ruling, and this is going to have ramifications all across Canada. Now, this letter, please take note, the recent BC Supreme Court decision about some tribe made important decisions which could negatively affect the title of your house. Basically, if you read this letter, it's warning people that if their house falls in this area, that this court ruled that you're going to lose your house with no compensation. They're just going to take the house. Canada's falling apart, friends. Not a great place to be, Canada. Taking away everybody's guns. Now they're going to take away people's houses. They have sky-high unemployment, sky-high inflation. They're one of the few countries that was a good neighbor, a big trade. we don't have a trade deal with them. They're still arguing and fighting with America over the trade deal. Plants up there are closing and moving to the United States. And they're the two big leaders, they're acting like it's not even happening. I don't know what's going on with Canada.
Did you ever play an instrument?
I played, like, for very short periods of time, the flute. Would you believe that?
Did you like it?
I had flute lessons. That's the first person that's ever asked me that crazy question. Yeah, I had flute. Can you believe it? I could have been a flutist.
I'll tell you what I do know a little bit about, and that's Kim Kardashian. I never really watched that show, The Kardashians. I know it was very popular with a lot of people, but, you know, when she married Kanye West, I knew there was something wrong with her. And then the other day, we were showing you the thong merkins that they were selling. That's the dumbest thing I've ever seen, and they sold out. That's what really got me. But she was somewhere, some awards thing or a party where she's on, you know, the red carpet. I want you to look at the outfit that she had on.
Let's talk about the new, what is it, the underwear line, like the Merkins? Where did that come from?
Yes, the Merkins. That was just a fun idea that I had. There was a shoot and someone wanted to like have hair down there once, and I was like, couldn't this just be easy and have it on a thong? And so we made that happen. I had no idea that it would be too
You know, it'd be even easier. You can just have it. You know, you can have it yourself. It's already there. You don't have to pay Kim Kardashian $32 if you want it. But why is she walking around with a bag on her head? Put a bag on her head. Why would you go out in public with your head covered up like that, like with a bag? And you're not even Muslim. I don't understand it. I'm getting old. Something's wrong with me, I guess. Now, I was hoping that Alpha would be here today or John Garrett would be here today because there's a radio story I want to cover. There have been a slew of firings in the radio industry over the last few years. And in the last few weeks, there have been a slew of additional firings made. And a lot of these it started with iHeartMedia, and then it spread to the other 2 or 3 big companies. Once iHeart started doing it, they went, oh, okay, we can go back to firing people. And I mean, they're firing people that are important to these radio stations. And these radio stations, the people are all they have anymore. They're so leveraged with debt, their advertising's going down, and so all they have is music. And look, we can get music for free on the internet and stream it. And we don't have to listen to 20, 25 minutes of commercials. So it's a bad proposition. And if you look, the only stations that are really doing well are the ones that don't depend entirely on music. They depend on personalities and talk and entertainment or news or information. But if you turn on public radio, and sometimes when I'm in my car I do, public radio has turned into a giant begathon. That's all it is. I mean, think about this for a minute. You got all these stations, and a lot of them are connected to universities and colleges. So if they want a college radio station, they want to let the college fund it. And they say they're not for profit, but they've been running commercials for years. Brought to you by an endowment from so-and-so, this chemical company, this pharmaceutical company, or my favorite ones are the Mr. and Mrs. Brad C. Johnson are making a donation, making this hour of all things possible. You know, regular radio is not being subsidized by the government, and it's not public radio anymore. It's Democratic radio. That's why one of the big things in the shutdown right now, one of the big things the Democrats want added to the continuing resolution is funding for public radio, because it's an enormous free propaganda channel for Democrats, and it has been for years. So today in one of the media newsletters that I get via email about radio, I read this story, and listen, I don't want to see, I hate it anytime I've been fired. It's a terrible feeling. I don't want to see anybody get fired, but I read this and I literally laughed out loud. It says here, after 27 years, I've been let go from KCRW along with some of the other best DJs in the world. This guy's name is Jason Kramer in Santa Monica. It's at Santa Monica College. Well, Jason, I hate to tell you, they're not the best DJs in the world, or they would be on some of the best stations in the world. They're on a college radio. If you're stuck at a college radio station after 27 years, you probably were not a great DJ. They just didn't have anybody else that would stay for 27 years. But when I read his story, he said, I've been let go from my show, which runs Sundays from 8 to 10 p.m. He works 2 hours a week from 8 to 10 on Sunday nights for 27 years. Now, I don't care what he's doing between 8 and 10 one night a week, but, you know, total investment of time can't be more than 5 hours total. So I read the story. I couldn't even believe it was a real story. He works 2 hours a week. Now, there have been a lot of people fired that are doing morning shows or afternoon shows that are 4 to 5 hours long. And if you're doing, I did this for 40-something. If you're doing that, you're not only doing the 4 or 5 hours a day, you're spending 4 to 6 hours off the air getting stuff ready for that show. Plus, you're going out and doing appearances and meeting with the jerk-off sales manager and dealing with some consultant who's never done radio and wants to tell you how to do your job. It's a pain in the ass, I can tell you that. This guy works 2 hours a week. Just shut up. Just go get another job and shut up. That's all I've got to say about it.
Trick or treat. Come closer and I'll give you a real
Well, I have one final story on today's Jack Murphy podcast, and it's not a good story, folks, because I know Halloween is a couple of weeks away. A couple of weeks? 10 days away till Halloween. But Thanksgiving's right around the corner, and according to the information I've received today, America's turkey flock has decreased to its smallest size in 40 years, partially due to an outbreak of the bird flu. And turkey prices are up 40% this year. So you might want to start looking now for a good price on a frozen turkey that you can thaw out. According to the American Farm Bureau Federation, the flock decreased due to a resurgence in bird flu and reduced production. Turkey prices are up about 40% higher than they were just last year. And and there are no signs that this is going to ease up over the next 5 weeks. Now, there'll always be somebody. If you shop, there's always going to be an Aldi or a Lidl or a Costco or some. They're going to offer some deal on turkey as long as you buy everything else there. Get your potatoes and your green beans and your bread. You buy it all together, and they'll give you the turkey for 49 cents a pound or whatever. But anyway, this isn't good news if you're just buying the turkey. Well, we're out of time for today, and I'd like to ask a favor if I could. I hate to ask, but I have to. We're fighting the algorithm on YouTube. A lot of people watch these videos but you don't subscribe. And you don't click the like button. It's killing me. You're hurting me deep down. If you want to help me subscribe, you got to have a YouTube account. It doesn't cost anything. You just give them an email and a name, and you have a YouTube account, and then you can subscribe to my channel. Costs $0. And you like the video. Anyway, somehow the algorithm gets to work, and it helps your friend Jack here. So subscribe, like the video, have a great day, and hopefully we'll be back with another episode of the Jack Murphy Podcast tomorrow.
Thanks for watching the Jack Murphy Podcast. Remember to like, subscribe, and ring that bell. Go ahead, ring it. Get alerts when a new episode drops, and tell your friends about the Jack Murphy Podcast. But only the cool friends, please. Tune in next time for another episode of the Jack Murphy Podcast.